The distress beacon punched through every comm channel on the freighter like a scream. Captain Derek Lane was 3 days into a mineral haul when the signal hit, so raw and desperate it made his teeth ache. He didn't hesitate. His hand slammed the thrust controls before his co-pilot could even look up. "Derek, that's uncharted space," Vanessa Cole said, her eyes wide on the nav display. "We don't know what's out there. Someone's dying," Derek said. The beacon looped again, high-pitched, frantic. Not a standard distress call, something else. The freighter tore through the void, engines screaming. Derek's pulse hammered in his ears. Vanessa worked the scanner, her fingers flying. "I've got a debris field. Looks like a small transport. Hulls breached. Life signs? Faint. Multiple. They're small." Vanessa's voice cracked. "Derek, they're really small." The wreckage tumbled into view, a twisted shell of metal venting atmosphere and frozen clouds. Derek brought the freighter alongside, mag clamps engaging with a heavy clunk. "Suit up. We've got minutes, maybe less." They cycled through the airlock and crossed into the wreck. Emergency lights flickered red across shattered corridors. The air was thin, toxic. Derek's suit readout screamed warnings he ignored. Vanessa moved ahead, following her scanner toward the life signs. They found them huddled in what used to be a cargo bay. 6 of them. Small, fragile, with large eyes that reflected the emergency lights like mirrors. Aliens. Children. Their skin was pale blue, almost translucent, and they wore tattered clothing that looked ceremonial, not protective. They stared at Derek and Vanessa with absolute terror. The smallest one stepped forward. She couldn't have been more than waist-high to Derek. Her lips moved, forming sounds his translator struggled to parse. Then it clicked. "Please," she whispered. "They're coming back." Derek's blood went cold. "Who's coming back?" The little alien pointed through the breach in the hull. Derek turned. His helmet display lit up with new contacts. 3 ships. Sleek, predatory, closing fast. His scanner identified them immediately. Hunters, slavers. "Vanessa, get them to the freighter. Now." "There's 6 of them, and we're not equipped. Now." Vanessa didn't argue again. She scooped up 2 of the children, their tiny hands clutching at her suit. Derek grabbed another, then turned back for the rest. The lead ship opened fire. Energy blasts tore through the wreck, melting bulkheads like wax. The children screamed. Derek hauled the last 3 under his arms and ran. The corridor exploded behind them. Metal shrieked. Vanessa was already through the airlock. Derek dove after her, slamming the emergency seal as the wreckage tore itself apart. The freighter's engines roared to life. Derek sprinted for the bridge, the children stumbling behind him. Vanessa was already at the controls, firing thrusters. The slaver ships banked toward them, weapons hot. "They're locking on," Vanessa said. Derek dropped into his seat. His hands moved across the console like lightning. "Then let's make them regret it." The first plasma bolt screamed past the freighter's hull close enough to superheat the outer plating. Alarms shrieked. Derek slammed the ship into a rolling dive, engines howling as he pushed them past safety limits. Behind him, the 6 alien children tumbled across the deck, their high-pitched cries cutting through the chaos. "Vanessa, get them strapped in somewhere!" Derek shouted, yanking the freighter through another violent turn. A second bolt clipped the starboard shield. The entire ship shuddered, lights flickering. Vanessa was already moving, herding the terrified children toward the emergency jump seats along the rear wall. The smallest one, the one who'd spoken first, clung to Vanessa's leg, her huge eyes streaming tears. "They take us," she kept saying. "They always take us." "Not today they don't," Vanessa said through gritted teeth, snapping harnesses over fragile bodies. Derek checked his tactical display. 3 slaver ships, light cruisers, fast and armed for exactly this kind of hunt. His freighter was built to haul cargo, not fight wars. The shields were barely holding. He had maybe 2 more hits before they failed completely. "Derek, we can't outrun them," Vanessa said, dropping into her seat. "And we definitely can't outfight them." "I know." Derek's mind raced. The nav computer showed nothing but empty space for light years. No stations, no patrol routes, no help. Just them and 3 ships full of people who bought and sold children. The lead slaver ship accelerated, pulling alongside. Derek's comm crackled. A voice oozed through, smooth and mocking. "Human freighter, cut your engines. Return our property and we'll let you live." Property. Derek's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. "Vanessa, how much charge in the cargo bay emitters?" She blinked. "Full charge, but those are for manipulating mineral containers, not... Can you repurpose them?" Her fingers flew across her console. "Maybe. If I reroute power from life support and basically burn out the emitters doing it, I could create a localized EMP burst. But it'd be short range. We'd have to be right on top of them. Do it." Derek killed the main engines. The freighter drifted, dead in space. The slaver ships circled like sharks. The comm crackled again. "Smart choice, human. Prepare to be boarded." Behind Derek, one of the children whimpered. He glanced back. They were so small, so scared. The smallest one met his eyes. Despite her terror, there was something else there. Hope. She thought he could save them. He would. The lead slaver ship moved in, extending docking clamps. Derek waited, every muscle coiled. The clamps connected with a metallic thunk. Vanessa's hands hovered over her console, waiting for his signal. "Boarding hatch opening," she whispered. Derek counted heartbeats. The slaver crew would be moving through the connection tube now, weapons ready, expecting surrender. They'd done this 1,000 times. Taken 1,000 others. Not this time. "Now," Derek said. Vanessa slammed the emitter controls. Every cargo bay emitter fired at once, overloading in a cascading surge. The EMP blast tore through the connection tube and into the lead slaver ship. Their shields collapsed. Their systems died. The ship went dark, drifting. Derek fired the main engines before the other 2 slavers could react. The freighter tore away, ripping the connection tube apart. Debris scattered across space. The remaining slaver ships opened fire, blind with rage. Bolts hammered the freighter's failing shields. "Shields at 15%, Vanessa called out. Derek pushed the engines harder. The freighter wasn't fast, but he knew something the slavers didn't. He'd hauled cargo through this sector before. He knew every rock, every debris field, every nav hazard the charts warned against, including the one dead ahead. "Derek, that's an asteroid field," Vanessa said. "Unmapped. Unstable. I know. We'll be torn apart. So will they." He dove into the field at full burn. Asteroids filled his viewport, a spinning maze of rock and death. Derek's hands moved on instinct, threading the freighter through gaps that shouldn't have existed. Behind them, the slaver ships followed, firing wildly. One bolt struck an asteroid. The rock exploded, fragments tearing through space. A piece the size of a ground car slammed into the second slaver ship, shearing off its entire port side. The ship spun out of control and crashed into a larger asteroid. It detonated in a ball of white fire. 2 down, 1 to go. The final slaver ship was relentless, matching Derek's every move. Its pilot was good, too good. Derek could feel the freighter straining, the engines on the verge of catastrophic failure. The shields were gone completely now. One more hit, and they were done. The smallest alien child's voice rose above the engine roar. "There. The blue one." Derek's eyes snapped to where she pointed. A massive asteroid, spinning slowly, glowing with some kind of bioluminescent mineral. There was a gap beneath it, narrow, barely wide enough. Derek aimed straight for it. "That's suicide," Vanessa breathed. "It's a chance." He killed the lateral thrusters and let the freighter's momentum carry them toward the gap. The slaver ship followed, weapons charging for the killing shot. Derek waited until the last possible microsecond, then fired every maneuvering thruster at once. The freighter twisted sideways and slipped through the gap. The slaver ship, too big, too fast, couldn't adjust in time. It slammed into the asteroid at full speed. The impact was catastrophic. The explosion lit up the entire field. Silence. Derek eased the freighter out of the asteroid field. Engines sputtering. Every system was redlined. Smoke filled the bridge. but they were alive. Behind him, the 6 children sat in stunned silence. Then the smallest one unbuckled and stumbled forward. She wrapped her tiny arms around Derek's leg. "Thank you," she whispered. The freighter limped through space on failing engines, leaving a trail of vented coolant like blood and water. Derek ran diagnostics while Vanessa worked damage control, her face pale with exhaustion. The 6 alien children sat in a cluster near the back of the bridge, whispering to each other in their native tongue. "We've got maybe 12 hours before the reactor goes critical. Life support's patched but unstable. We need a dock, Derek. A real one." Derek pulled up the nav chart. The nearest station was 4 days away at their current speed. They'd never make it. His eyes tracked across the display, searching for anything, any option that didn't end with all of them dead in the void. "There," he said, pointing to a marker his scanner had just picked up. "Station Gamma 7. It's old, probably abandoned, but it's close. 2 hours, maybe 3. Abandoned stations don't have life support. It's better than drifting." Derek laid in the course. The freighter groaned in protest but responded. Barely. The smallest alien child, the one who'd pointed out the asteroid, approached Derek's chair. Up close he could see she was trembling, her translucent skin showing the rapid pulse of whatever served as her circulatory system. "What is your name?" she asked, her voice small but steady. "Derek. What's yours?" "Lyra." She glanced back at the others. "My sisters are Kes, Nira, Ves, Tola, and Mira. We are the last of the temple singers." Vanessa turned in her seat. "Temple singers?" Lyra nodded. "Our people sing the old songs, the songs that remember. But the hunters came. They burned our temple, took everyone. We hid in the cargo ship, but they found us anyway." Derek's hands tightened on the controls. "Where's your homeworld? We'll get you back." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "There's no home." The hunters glassed it. Nothing lives there now. The bridge went silent, except for the labored hum of dying engines. Derek felt something cold settle in his chest. These children had watched their entire world die. Everything and everyone they'd ever known, gone. And someone had tried to sell what remained. "The hunters will send more ships," Lyra continued. "They always do. We are valuable. Our songs can open the old vaults, the sacred places. They want what's inside." "What's inside?" Vanessa asked. Lyra shook her head. "We don't know. The elders never told us. But the hunters believe it's worth more than stars." The station appeared on sensors, a dark wheel spinning slowly against the black. Derek brought the freighter in carefully, looking for a docking port that still had atmosphere. The station was ancient, pre-Federation design, built back when humans first pushed into deep space. Most of the sections were dark, but one port showed green on his readout. "Got seal," Derek said as the clamps engaged. "Vanessa, grab the emergency supplies. I'll check if this place has anything we can use." They cycled through into the station. The air was stale but breathable. Emergency lighting cast everything in sickly yellow. The children stayed close, holding hands, their eyes darting to every shadow. Derek led them through corridors thick with dust, past abandoned cargo bays and empty crew quarters. In the central hub, they found something unexpected. A working comm terminal, its screen glowing softly in the dark. Derek approached it cautiously. The system was old but functional. Someone had been here recently. Very recently. "Derek," Vanessa called from across the hub. "You need to see this." She stood in front of a large viewport. Derek joined her, and his blood went cold. Ships. Dozens of them, hanging in space around the station. Not slavers. Something worse. Military vessels, sleek and deadly, bearing markings he recognized from intelligence briefs he'd seen during his short stint in the Colonial Defense Force. "The Krell Dominion. They're not moving," Vanessa whispered. "Why aren't they moving?" the comm terminal chirped. Derek spun around. Text scrolled across the screen in Standard Galactic. A message, directed at them. "Captain Derek Lane, we've been waiting for you." Derek's hand moved to his sidearm. "How do you know my name?" the text continued. "We know many things. We know you rescued 6 temple singers from our acquisition teams. We know you destroyed 3 of our ships. We know you're trapped on a dead station with no way out, Lyra gasped. The other children huddled closer together, terrified. We also know, the message continued, that you're human, and humans have a reputation for being unreasonable. Derek stepped closer to the terminal. What do you want? A trade. The children for your lives. Simple. Clean. You walk away, we get what we paid for. Everyone survives. They're not property, Derek said. Everything is property, Captain. The universe runs on transactions. You've simply inserted yourself into one that doesn't concern you. Vanessa moved beside Derek, her weapon drawn. There's dozens of them, and 2 of us. We can't fight our way out. I know. Derek looked at Lyra. The small alien met his eyes with that same desperate hope from before. She believed in him. They all did. The message scrolled again. You have 1 hour to decide. After that, we'll board the station and take what's ours. Resist and you die. Cooperate and you live. Choose wisely, human. The screen went dark. Derek stood in the silence, his mind racing. An hour. 60 minutes to find a way out of an impossible situation. No weapons, no backup, no leverage. Just a crippled freighter, a dying station, and 6 terrified children who'd already lost everything. Lyra tugged on his sleeve. You won't give us to them, will you? Derek knelt down to her level. He looked into those huge, trusting eyes and made a decision that would either save them all or kill them trying. No, he said. I won't. Vanessa stared at him. Derek, what are you thinking? I'm thinking, Derek said, standing up, that the Krell made a mistake. What mistake? Derek smiled, but there was no humor in it. They gave us an hour, Derek. Moved through the station like a man possessed, his eyes scanning every corridor, every panel, every forgotten piece of equipment. Vanessa followed, confused but trusting. The children stayed close, their small feet pattering on the metal deck. This station is old, Derek said, thinking out loud. Pre-Federation. That means it was built during the Expansion Wars. Vanessa, what do you know about Expansion-era defense platforms? She blinked. They were paranoid. Every station had armament, even civilian ones. But Derek, those systems would be dead by now. No power, no ammunition, nothing. Maybe. Derek found what he was looking for, a maintenance shaft leading down into the station's lower levels. Or maybe someone left something behind we can use. They descended into darkness. Derek's helmet light cut through the black, illuminating decades of neglect. The lower levels were a maze of machinery and conduits, most of it corroded beyond recognition. But Derek had spent years hauling freight through forgotten sectors. He knew these old stations better than most. He found the armory 3 levels down. The door was sealed, but the lock was mechanical, not electronic. Derek pulled a cutting torch from his pack and went to work. Sparks flew in the darkness. The children watched with wide eyes. Even if there's weapons, Vanessa said, we're still outnumbered 20-1. The Krell aren't slavers, Derek. They're military. Trained, equipped, ruthless. I know what they are. The lock gave way. Derek hauled the door open. Inside, racked and waiting, were weapons. Lots of them. Pulse rifles, plasma charges, even an old rotary cannon that looked like it could punch through a bulkhead. Most importantly, there were explosives. Lots of explosives. Derek grabbed everything they could carry. Here's what we're going to do. The KL think we're trapped. They think we're helpless. So we let them believe it. Derek, they'll board from the main docking hub. Standard military procedure. They'll sweep section by section, expecting either surrender or minimal resistance. Derek's hands moved as he spoke, rigging charges to a portable timer. We won't be there. We'll be in the reactor core. Vanessa's eyes went wide. The reactor core is unstable. You said yourself this station is dying. Exactly. And when the Krell board, we're going to make it die faster. Derek handed her a rifle. We rigged the core to overload, set it on a dead man's switch. If they try to take us by force, the whole station goes up. We all die, including their prize. That's insane. That's negotiation. Derek looked at the children. Lyra, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? The small alien nodded slowly. What do you need? I need you to sing. 30 minutes later, they were positioned in the reactor core chamber. Derek had rigged every explosive he could find around the primary containment unit. The setup was crude but effective. One trigger press and the resulting detonation would vaporize the station and everything within 1,000 kilometers. The Krell ships began their approach. Derek watched on a salvaged monitor as boarding craft detached and moved toward the docking ports. Dozens of soldiers in powered armor, weapons ready, moving with mechanical precision. Vanessa crouched beside him, rifle trained on the entrance. "This is really your plan? Mutually assured destruction? It's worked before." Derek activated the comm system, broadcasting on all channels. "Krell Dominion forces, this is Captain Derek Lane. I'm transmitting my current position. I'm in the reactor core with your temple singers and enough explosives to turn this station into a debris field. Come and take them if you want, but we all die together." Silence. Then a new voice came through, cold and mechanical. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Derek pressed a button. One of the smaller charges detonated in an empty corridor, the explosion visible on their monitors. The station shuddered. "That was me being polite. Next one takes the primary coolant line. After that, we've got maybe 90 seconds before containment fails." More silence. Derek could imagine the Krell commander calculating odds, weighing options. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. Not for being strong or advanced, but for being absolutely unpredictable when cornered. "You would kill yourself and the children to spite us?" "In a heartbeat." Derek's voice was ice. "You made them property. You glassed their world. You don't get to profit from genocide." Brave words from a dead man. Maybe. But I'm a dead man either way, aren't I? "You won't let me walk away from this, so I'm taking the choice away from you. Leave, or we all go together." Another pause. Derek's hand hovered over the detonator. Sweat ran down his back. Vanessa's breathing was sharp and rapid beside him. The children huddled together, silent. Then Lyra stepped forward. "Wait," she said softly. Let me try something." Before Derek could stop her, she walked to the center of the chamber. Her sisters joined her, forming a circle, and they began to sing. The sound was impossible to describe. It wasn't just music. It was something older, something that resonated in the chest and the bones. The reactor core hummed in response, its dying systems pulsing in rhythm with the melody. The very air seemed to shimmer. On the monitor, Derek saw the Krell soldiers stop. They stood frozen in the corridors, weapons lowered. The song washed over them, through them. Some of them actually stepped back. The voice on the comm returned, but it was different now, uncertain. "What is that?" "That," Derek said, "is what you were willing to murder children for. That's the sound of something you'll never understand. Something you can't buy, can't steal, can't own." Lyra's voice rose above her sister's, clear and pure. The reactor's hum became a harmony. Light began to emanate from the containment unit. Not the harsh glow of imminent failure, but something softer, almost alive. Ancient systems throughout the station flickered to life. Lights bloomed in dead corridors. Sealed doors opened. The station was waking up, responding to the song like it had been waiting centuries to hear it again. "Impossible!" the Krell commander whispered. Derek felt it too. Whatever the temple singers were, whatever their songs could do, it was beyond anything he'd imagined. This wasn't just music. This was power. Raw, ancient, and utterly beyond military force. "Last chance," Derek said. "Leave now or find out what else they can do." On the monitors, the Krell soldiers were retreating. Falling back to their boarding craft, their movements rushed, almost panicked. The ships began to disengage. But one craft didn't retreat. It moved closer, faster, not a boarding craft. "A strike ship. They're going to destroy the station," Vanessa shouted. "Take us all out rather than let us go." Derek's finger tightened on the detonator. This was it. The Krell had called his bluff. They were going to... The strike ship's weapons charged. Derek pressed the trigger. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Nothing. The detonator was dead. The explosives were inert. Derek looked down at the device in confusion. Then at Lyra. The small alien met his eyes and shook her head gently. "No more death," she said simply. The strike ship fired. The weapon discharge lit up space like a newborn star. Derek grabbed Lyra and dove for cover, pulling Vanessa down with him. The children screamed. The entire station shook as the blast wave hit, but they didn't die. Derek looked up, disbelieving. The blast had struck something, an energy barrier that now shimmered around the station like a soap bubble made of light. The station's ancient defensive systems, dead for decades, were fully active, and they were responding to the song. Lyra pulled free from Derek's grip and returned to the circle. Her sisters never stopped singing, their voices weaving together in complex harmonies that made Derek's head spin. The barrier pulsed with each note, growing stronger. The Krell strike ship fired again, and again. Each blast dissipated against the shield like rain on glass. The other Krell ships joined in, a coordinated barrage that should have reduced the station to atoms. The barrier held. They can't hurt us, Vanessa breathed. The song is protecting us. Derek's tactical mind was already moving past shock. The barrier was incredible, but it wasn't an escape. They were still trapped. The Krell could just wait them out. The children couldn't sing forever. Then the station's comm system crackled to life on its own. Not the Krell this time. A new voice, human, coming from somewhere far away. Unidentified station. This is the U.S. Valiant. We're picking up some very interesting energy readings from your position. Do you require assistance? Derek lunged for the comm panel. Valiant, this is Captain Derek Lane. We are under attack by Krell Dominion forces. We have civilians aboard, including children. We need immediate extraction. A pause. Captain Lane, the Krell Dominion has filed a legal claim on those children as salvaged property. We can't intervene in a recognized commercial dispute without causing a diplomatic incident. Derek's blood boiled. They're not property. They're people. Their homeworld was destroyed. The Krell are trying to... We're aware of the situation, Captain. Our hands are tied. However, the voice paused meaningfully. If those children were to be granted asylum by a human citizen, that would change the legal framework considerably. Are you that citizen, Captain Lane? Derek looked at Lyra, at her sisters. 6 orphaned children from a dead world, hunted across the galaxy for powers they'd barely understood. He thought about his quiet life hauling freight, the simple routes, the predictable days. That life was gone now. The moment he'd answered their distress call, everything had changed. Yes, Derek said. I'm claiming asylum for all 6 of them. They're under my protection. Acknowledged. Stand by for extraction. Valiant out. The Krell commander's voice cut in immediately, sharp with fury. This is a violation of established commerce law. Those assets were legally acquired through genocide, another voice interrupted. This one was different, carrying weight and authority that made even the Krell pause. This is Admiral Patricia Ross of the United Earth Systems. We've just reviewed your acquisition records. You destroyed an inhabited world to claim survivors as property. That's not commerce. That's a war crime. On Derek's monitor, new contacts appeared. Big ones. 3 human dreadnoughts dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Their weapons already hot. The Valiant and her sister ships. The entire 3rd Fleet battle group. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, Admiral Ross continued. Or we'll classify this as an act of aggression against human-protected civilians and respond accordingly. The Krell ships hung in space, weapons still trained on the station. Derek held his breath. Would they really back down? The Krell Dominion was powerful, but so was Earth. A shooting war between them would tear the sector apart. 20 seconds. 10. 5. The Krell ships turned and jumped to faster than light, vanishing in bursts of twisted space. Gone. Derek let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Vanessa slumped against the wall, laughing with relief. The children stopped singing, their voices fading to silence. The barrier around the station flickered and died. The lights dimmed back to emergency levels. Lyra walked over to Derek and took his hand. You saved us, she said simply. We saved each other, Derek replied. The Valiant moved into docking position. Within minutes, A proper boarding tube extended and connected. The airlock cycled and a squad of Marines in full combat gear emerged, securing the area with professional efficiency. Behind them came Admiral Ross herself, a tall woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She looked at Derek, then at the children, then back at Derek. Captain Lane, you've started quite the diplomatic mess. Wasn't my intention, Admiral? I'm sure it wasn't. She knelt down to Lyra's level. Hello there. I'm Patricia. What's your name? Lyra. The small alien studied the Admiral with those huge, careful eyes. Are you going to help us? Yes, sweetheart. That's exactly what we're going to do. Ross stood and faced Derek. We need to debrief you on everything that happened. The Krell are going to push back hard on this. They'll claim you interfered with legitimate salvage operations. We'll need your testimony. They murdered an entire species, Derek said flatly. I'll testify anywhere you need me. Ross nodded approvingly. Because this doesn't end here, Captain. The moment word gets out about what these children can do, every power in the galaxy's going to want them. We just painted a very large target on all of you. Derek looked at the 6 sisters huddled together, exhausted and afraid but alive. He'd saved them from slavers and stood down a military fleet with nothing but bluster and desperation. And apparently, he'd just adopted 6 alien children with reality-bending abilities. His quiet life was definitely over. Let them come, Derek said. These kids have been through enough. Anyone who wants to hurt them goes through me first. Ross smiled. You know, Captain, we could use someone with your particular brand of stubborn stupidity. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeters. How
I'm a freight hauler, Admiral. You were a freight hauler. Now you're the man who told the Krell Dominion to go to hell and live to talk about it.
That's worth something. She gestured to the Marines. Get 'em all aboard the Valiant. Medical attention for everyone, hot meals, and real beds. Captain Lane, you and I need to have a longer conversation about your future. As they moved through the docking tube toward the warship, Lyra kept hold of Derek's hand. What happens now? She asked. Derek looked out at the stars through the Valiant's viewports, at the vast and dangerous galaxy that had just become exponentially more complicated. Now, he said, we figure out how to keep you safe, and maybe, just maybe, we make the people who destroyed your world answer for what they did. Lyra smiled for the first time since he'd found her. It was small and fragile, but it was real. I think, she said softly, we chose the right human. 6 months later, Derek stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, a place he never imagined he'd see. The chamber was vast, filled with representatives from 100 worlds, all watching him with varying degrees of hostility, curiosity, or contempt. Behind him sat Lyra and her sisters, clean and healthy now, wearing new clothes that honored their lost culture. The Krell ambassador was finishing his statement, his mechanical voice echoing through the chamber. This human violated established salvage protocols and interfered with lawful commercial operations. The Dominion demands compensation and the immediate return of our property. Derek stepped forward. Admiral Ross had coached him on protocol, on diplomacy, on playing the political game. He ignored all of it. They're not property, Derek said, his voice cutting through the chamber. They're children, and your forces committed genocide to claim them. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted over each other. The council moderator called for order, his translators struggling to keep up with dozens of languages simultaneously. The human speaks out of turn, the Krell ambassador said coldly. He has no standing in this assembly. Actually, Admiral Ross stood from the human delegation section. Captain Lane has been granted special witness status. His testimony is admissible. Derek continued before anyone could object. 6 months ago, I answered a distress call. I found 6 terrified children hiding in a wreck, running from the people who destroyed everything they'd ever known. The Krell didn't salvage them. They hunted them. There's a difference. He pulled up a holographic display. This is what's left of their homeworld, glassed from orbit. Population of 4 million, all dead. The Krell wanted what the Temple Singers could do, so they took it. Images filled the air. A beautiful world reduced to a scorched wasteland. Cities turned to ash. The evidence was damning. collected over months by Earth intelligence operatives who'd risked everything to get it. The chamber fell silent. Even the Krell ambassador seemed to hesitate. Lyra stood. She was small, even in the grand chamber, but her voice carried. "May I speak?" The moderator looked uncertain. "This is highly irregular." "Let her speak," a voice called out. Then another. Soon, dozens of delegates were demanding she be heard. Lyra walked to the center of the chamber. "My people sang the old songs for 10,000 years. We remembered what others forgot. We kept the history of this galaxy alive in our voices. The Krell destroyed us for power they didn't understand, but they failed to destroy our purpose." She looked around at the assembled species, her huge eyes reflecting the chamber lights. "I am Lyra, last of the temple singers of Viridian, and I remember everything my ancestors sang, including the treaties that founded this council, the original laws, before they were rewritten and forgotten." The moderator leaned forward. "What are you saying, child?" "I'm saying that genocide was illegal in the founding laws. Commerce in sentient beings was forbidden. The Krell didn't just break your current laws. They broke the oldest laws this council ever made." Lyra began to sing. The sound filled the chamber, ancient and powerful. And as she sang, something extraordinary happened. The council's own historical archives began displaying on every screen, activated by frequencies in her voice that unlocked systems dormant for millennia. Original documents appeared, written in languages most delegates had never seen. The founding treaties, the original laws, all of them condemning exactly what the Krell had done. The Krell ambassador stood abruptly. "This is a trick, a human deception." "The archives don't lie," the moderator said, staring at the screens in shock. "These are our own systems, protected by encryption we ourselves created. If they respond to her voice, then she is what she claims." Derek watched as the political landscape shifted in real time. Delegates who'd been ready to side with the Krell were now backing away. The evidence was irrefutable. More importantly, Lyra had just proven that the Temple Singers weren't just children to be protected. They were living keys to the galaxy's own forgotten history. "The Council recognizes," the moderator said formally, "that a grave injustice has been committed. The Krell Dominion is hereby ordered to pay reparations to the survivors of Viridian and face tribunal for acts of genocide." The Krell ambassador's translator actually crackled with rage. "This is human manipulation. We will not accept this ruling," Admiral Ross stood. "Then you'll accept Earth's formal declaration of protection over the Temple Singers. Try to take them and it's war." Other delegates stood. The Centauri, the Ashen Collective, even some of the Krell's former allies. One by one, they declared protection for the children. The Krell had overplayed their hand, and the galaxy had finally seen them for what they were. The Krell ambassador left without another word. The session dissolved into chaos, delegates arguing, alliances shifting. Derek didn't care about any of it. He walked to Lyra and knelt down. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "I was scared. But you were right. The truth matters." "Yeah," Derek said. "It does." Admiral Ross approached, a slight smile on her face. "Well, Captain, you've just reshaped galactic politics. How does it feel?" "Exhausting." Derek looked at the 6 sisters. "What happens to them now?" "They're granted asylum on Earth. Full citizenship, protection, education. They'll be safe." Ross paused. "They'll also need a guardian, someone they trust, someone who's already proven he'll stand between them and the entire galaxy if necessary." Derek looked at Lyra. She looked back with those hopeful eyes that had started all of this. "I'm just a freight hauler," he said. "No," Lyra said softly. "You're our family." Derek felt something break and rebuild inside his chest. He'd lost everything to save them. His ship, his career, his simple life. And somehow he'd gained something infinitely more valuable. "Yeah," he said, pulling all 6 children into a hug. "I guess I am." 3 years later, Derek stood in the same assembly hall, but everything was different. The Temple Singers had changed the galaxy. Their songs had unlocked forgotten archives on 100 worlds, revealing lost history. Ancient treaties and technologies thought extinct. The balance of power had shifted. Species that had been marginalized found new voices. Old wrongs were being addressed, and the Krell Dominion, faced with mounting evidence of their crimes, had collapsed from within, not through war but through truth. Lyra stood beside Derek now, taller, but still small compared to most species. She was addressing the council, teaching them one of the old songs, helping them remember who they'd been before they forgot their own values. Derek watched with quiet pride. He'd answered a distress call 3 years ago. 6 terrified children had begged him for help. He'd given them everything he had, and they'd changed the galaxy, not through force or conquest, but through memory, truth, and the simple act of one human refusing to let injustice win. As Lyra's voice filled the chamber, Derek smiled. Yeah, he thought,